I think the Sony WH-1000XX, the ColleXion, sounds good out of the box already and even better with the DSE Ultimate setting, but I think there's a bit more that can be done to make it sound cleaner and smoother in the vocals and more relaxed using the 10-band graphic EQ in the Sony Sound Connect app. So I went to work and the result is what I call the Springapore EQ setting for the ColleXion headphones. It's a crisp, punchy setting that cleans the vocals from bloat and slightly boosts airiness. Now, if you're new to graphic equalizers, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through the process of how I arrived at this custom EQ so that you can even create your own EQ setting that works for you. Because as much as I think that this is the best EQ setting for the ColleXion, you might feel differently since everyone's hearing is different. It depends on age and listening preferences. Really. Also, get subscribed for more content about the ColleXion headphones. Before changing the settings, you need a point of reference. So select some music that you're very familiar with, preferably something with vocals because humans are generally more sensitive to changes in the human voice. So choose some music with vocals, and as you make the changes, try to listen out for differences in the sound. Also, you need to know what those numbers on the graph mean, but don't worry, I will explain them while making my own adjustments to the EQ settings. Let's make our changes on Custom 2 because then it's easier to toggle between Custom 2 to EQ off and compare the difference. In fact, try playing some music, then toggling between off and a flat Custom 2. You'll notice something interesting, that actually the off setting has its own EQ, so it sounds different and it's even louder than Custom 2, which is actually the real flat setting. Let's toggle back to Custom 2 and let's start on the left side from 31Hz to 250Hz. This is the bass region, sub-bass from 31Hz to 63Hz, mid-bass at 125Hz, and high bass at 250Hz. Any adjustments at 250Hz will also affect the mid-range, so keep that in mind. I increased the sub-bass at 31Hz and 63Hz to give bass notes more gravity, and then I increased the 125Hz to add tightness and punch to the bass. Next, I decreased the 250Hz dial, and I'm doing this because 250Hz is actually the midpoint between the bass and the mids. So this creates some separation, so the bass sounds tight and clean, yes, but it doesn't bloom over into the mids. From 500Hz to 4 kHz, we have the mid-range frequencies, and this affects vocals as well as most sounds in general, like musical instruments and sound effects. We have the low mids at 500Hz, which affects the fullness and body of vocals. 1 kHz affects the loudness of vocals and instruments, and 2 kHz affects the sharpness or crispness of vocals. And for the ColleXion, I kept 500Hz and 1 kHz at 0 and raised the 2 kHz dial because I do want to give vocals just enough crispness, but I don't want it to be as bright as on the off setting. 4 kHz is what's known as the presence dial. It adjusts the clarity and detail of vocals and instruments to make them sound more or less obvious from the soundstage. But be careful. Too much 4 kHz can make everything sound too harsh, while too little can make instruments and vocals sound too distant. For the ColleXion, I set it to +1 because I want its vocals to pop out a bit more from the soundstage. We also have the treble dials at 8 kHz and 16 kHz. Now, these adjust the brightness and airiness of the whole sound in general, specifically the brightness and crispness of instruments at 8 kHz, like hi-hats, cymbals, and all that, and the airiness and transparency of the soundstage at 16 kHz. So if you feel that the ColleXion sounds dull and veiled, kind of like this, dull and veiled, you need to increase those bands. If it's too bright and annoying, decrease them. For me, the ColleXion on flat settings sounds a bit too dark. So what I did was I pumped up both dials to expand the air and transparency of its soundstage. Since the ColleXion does have a treble roll-off above 13 kHz, as you can see from this frequency sweep, this should bring back the airiness, but if it's too bright for you, you may set the 16 kHz band to +3 or even lower than that. So that was my Springapore EQ setting for the Sony the ColleXion, a preset which has a crisp, punchy sound that cleans up bloatiness in the vocals while improving the airiness in the soundstage. You can also get the EQ setting by scanning this QR code or clicking on the link below. But what do you think about this setting? Or perhaps you have another setting that you want to share with everybody? If so, tell us in the comments below. Let's make this video a hub for everybody's custom EQ presets. Thanks for watching, smash like and share, and get subscribed for more WH-1000XX related videos. Also, check here for my full review of the ColleXion and how it compares to the hottest headphones in the market.